I'm Brian Marvel. I am a police officer with the City of San Diego, the San Diego Police Department. I'm also the president of the San Diego Police Officers Association. The San Diego Police Department implemented, or actually beta tested, body-worn cameras back in 2009. The technology wasn't necessarily as small as it is today. It was a little bit cumbersome. So at that point in time, we no longer continue to use them. We had some incidents down in San Diego, and also the demand for greater accountability in law enforcement, where we started to fully implement the program, where we currently have 600 body cameras out on the streets right now, and we'll have 1,000 by August. As one of the earlier departments in the state to implement body cameras, the San Diego Police Department approached the San Diego Police Officers Association to sit down and have a discussion about creating a policy and procedures regarding the implementation of body cameras for our officers working the streets. Part of that project, actually part of those meetings, entailed extensive outreach in the community with the NAACP, the ACLU, La Raza, the LGBT community members. The department was doing their community outreach along with us, the SDPOA, doing our community outreach and talking to those groups. Out of that group, a lot of issues and concerns came up that we tried to address during our meetings with the city and the San Diego Police Department in crafting a policy and guideline that was beneficial for the police department and what they were trying to accomplish regarding that. It was beneficial for the officers that we represent and some of the concerns that they had regarding that, and was also beneficial for the community in which we serve. The San Diego officers on the San Diego Police Department are authorized to review body-worn camera footage prior to writing a report. That was something that we felt was important to be in a policy, because ultimately everything that we do is trying to strive for accuracy in the documentation of an incident. The benefits that we have found at the San Diego Police Department regarding body-worn cameras is we've seen about a roughly 45% drop in complaints against officers, almost 60% drop in allegations. And when I talk about allegations, you can have multiple allegations or equivalent to one complaint. We've seen use of force issues go down with officers using body weapons like your hands, your feet, your elbows, that type of stuff. We've seen a reduced usage of pepper spray. The only troubling concern we had was there was an increased assaults on officers, which we're still trying to figure out how that plays into this because the report is very preliminary. Well, I think the public benefits in the fact that the incident or the altercation is being recorded. We're getting a more accurate reflection of the incident. I'm not saying that body cameras are the panacea. I'm saying that they're another tool in the many tools that law enforcement has to use at its discretion when it handles crime scenes and victims. Body-worn cameras as a training tool for newer officers or even seasoned officers, there's a very high potential for that to take place. Our program is almost a year old. I anticipate down the road that we will start probably using some of those videos in training sessions to let officers see some of the positive work that's being done out there, but also maybe taking a look at some of the other incidents, critiquing them so other officers don't make the same mistakes. One of the things that I've seen in my training around the state is when you do go to training and you always see video of other agencies and other officers and you go like, oh, that'll never happen here. But now that we actually have video that we can start showing our own officers of the things that are happening here, I think it just sets in a little bit better for the officers that are receiving that training to go, look, here are the issues that we've experienced on our department. Here are the good things that we're doing on our department. So you're given a good mix of some of the bad things that need to be corrected, and training can rectify that, but also showing some of the good things that we're doing to reinforce the positive work that we're doing out there. In San Diego, we record almost every incident where there's an enforcement type activity. There are some exceptions to that rule, like a domestic violence call. Depending if there's strangulation involved, we probably would not record that. We don't record victims of rape or sexual abuse or child abuse. We don't record, when you have parents interacting with their children involved in child abuse situations. So we have a little bit of discretion on what we do and what we don't record. Obviously, we want to take the sensitivities of the victims into consideration when you create a policy regarding this type of stuff. And we think that our policy really tries to address a lot of those issues. Hopefully, we can, as we learn and progress through the years, we'll be able to tighten the language up to allow for the privacy that's needed in those type of circumstances. San Diego Police Department policy regarding releasing of footage at the moment, the only time we release the footage is at court during the discovery phase. We do not release footage to the general media or to newspapers or anybody else that's outside of the jurisdiction of the court. Obviously, this is going to be a hot button topic that's going to be discussed throughout the state of California, and there's actually current legislation that's going to address this issue. One of the things that we've experienced in dealing with the community is the great concern that they just have the unfettered release of body-worn camera to the news media because, unfortunately, people don't call the police and said, hey, my son's turning 7 years old. We're going to blow out his candles. Come on over here and partake in this. Usually we see people at their worst time, and I don't believe that the media should have access to that video. The SDPD policy generally prohibits the release of body-worn camera footage, in respect of the privacy of the folks that we deal with and contact on a daily basis. Chief Zimmerman has publicly stated that under certain circumstances or incidents, she would release the body-worn footage. One of our concerns about the legislation coming out of Sacramento is that it could be too restrictive and agencies may not want to deploy body-worn cameras. I think if the ultimate goal is for all law enforcement to have body-worn cameras, you need to have that flexibility of the community input along with the associations working with the department to craft a policy that's best for that area. The SDPD policy regarding retention of body-worn camera footage, if there's no crime or there isn't a special hold on the camera footage, it's usually destroyed within 120 days. Our position at the San Diego Police Officers Association is we'd like to keep it for a minimum of 2.5 years. Currently, state law regarding civil rights violations is 2 years. Our position is if we could exonerate an officer from an incident, we want to keep that footage for at least a minimum of 2 years, and then the flexibility of the 6 months to make sure in case somebody filed a report on the very last day, that camera footage isn't being destroyed the next day, and that won't exonerate the officer from any of the accusations that they're being accused of. So the departments would probably want to see a shorter time frame, but the reality is we'd actually like to see a little bit of a longer time frame. A routine day for an SDPD officer who has a body-worn camera, if each officer who is assigned a body-worn camera, that is their camera. So they have a choice between the chest-mounted one, the one that goes on the lapel, or you can wear the one on the glasses. We're finding a majority of officers like the one that's here on the chest. Allows for greater flexibility. They can put it off to the side over here or on this side. When an officer suits up, they put their camera on, they go out into the field. Our policy states that if there's going to be any enforcement action, that you have to turn the body-worn camera on at that point in time. After the incident is completed and you can turn off the body-worn camera per policy. Each officer gets a little iPhone or a little phone that they have. They have to what's called meta tag it, where they put in the information, the incident number or the case number. They have to do that for every time that they utilize their camera. So at the end of the day, say they're done with their shift, they've had 4 enforcement encounters. There's a docking station back at the station, so when they go home for the day, they put their body-worn camera into the docking station. And what happens is when that's downloaded, and then the police report that they've created or the incident has created, that gets moved up to investigations. The detectives know through reading the report that the officer had a body-worn camera and utilized it, which has to be in the report documentation. And then what they can do is through the cloud service that we have, they're able to access it. Part of our body-worn camera policy in San Diego is it's a need-to-know basis. The video footage is just not out there, so anybody can review it. The officer, once he downloads it, he won't be able to review it unless he's with an investigator. The detective who is assigned the case can review it, and the detective sergeant over the unit can review the case. Outside of that, there are obviously command structures and internal affairs. They have the ability to review footage. The SDPD policy now, each officer who is assigned a body-worn camera gets 2 hours of training prior to utilization of, or actually deploying the camera out into the field. We're actually reviewing that and is probably going to recommend that there's some more time spent on training current officers on the department. One of the things that we will be implementing this year, we've already had our second academy class where they actually have body cameras in the academy now. So when they're going through the academy, the recruits are wearing the body-worn cameras and having to push the camera on, turn it off. So you develop the muscle memory necessary for having that type of item on your body. One of the things that we deal with in law enforcement is with the tools that we currently wear around our gun belt, a lot of it's muscle memory. If you get a new holster with a new gun, you want to go out to the range and you want to practice a lot because you need that muscle memory, because under intense stressful situations, that's what's going to get you through. So by having new recruits go through the academy with body-worn cameras, it'll be more second nature for them. Because a lot of our concerns is just trying to get the officers that have never had this technology on them get used to building up that muscle memory necessary to turn on the body camera. There are going to be instances where officers don't turn the body camera on because one of the biggest things we have is our lifeline to communications is a radio. And when you get these new recruits coming out of the academy and maybe for the first year or so, they're forgetting to turn their radio on. So you need to develop that over time, and it just can't be one of these things where you roll out a body-worn camera program and everybody's immediately going to turn their camera on for every incident, because it's just something that doesn't happen. With our department, the San Diego Police Department, we found that the younger officers were much more receptive to the new technology because they've actually grown up with this type of stuff. Older officers that have been around for quite a while were a lot more reluctant to the change and the new technology. But what we have found is when they've spoken to senior officers where the body camera has protected them several times against complaints, they are much more positive on wanting to wear it and utilize it in the field. Where the younger officers, they get that little cool iPhone and they love that stuff. It's almost like playing Halo. In my opinion, and the SDPOA's opinion, we believe that body-worn cameras have been a good thing for our department. I anticipate almost 90 to 95% of the agencies in California will eventually have body-worn cameras deployed. I think the technology is very new. There are a lot of issues that still need to be addressed. And this is where I think the state can come in positively, and that is by actually taking a look at a lot of the issues regarding privacy, regarding data security, what happens when there's breaches in data security, chain of custody. Those are the things I think the state can take a look at and actually have a positive influence on body-worn camera programs throughout the state. And leave the local stuff down to the local people in the communities. Let them deal with the intricacies of a policy that a day-to-day operations will be handled by the agency.